So in episode 5, we started to really rough out the layout, and that was actually when we first had it be 6 pages.
Essentially, we've figured out where everything's going to be staged, so I can actually start really quickly breaking down what's going to happen in each page. You can call that panel breakdown, plotting, anything that really helps with getting the story uh, very quickly on a page that you can see everything happening. Right, that's really what it is. Is it's a blueprint for how the page is going to, or how the story is going to be laid out. And the whole point of doing these thumbnails, they're very quick, they're very messy. You may be the artist may be the only one at this point that really understands what's happening. It's just to get the immediate ideas down, to figure out how many panels you think it could be to make sure it will fit on a page. At this point, you may go, you know what? We may need to expand how many pages, and that's actually what we ended up doing. Is we decided that a 4 page story doesn't quite work. It could work, but there were things that were missing, so we added 2 more pages. And so I'll let Sarah continue
Mhm.
on from that point.
Absolutely, and what ended up happening is that we found that we wanted to give a bit more time, especially to the ending of the story, right? We wanted to really kind of play out how what happens at open that door, go through because that was such a big part of it, we wanted to give that its own page and then have an entire page of the starting again, of the next person moving into the apartment with that feeling of this is a cycle, this is gonna keep going. So this was sort of at the time that we decided when Keith started to draw them that we felt that we just needed those additional pages to really tell this full story in the way that we wanted to tell it. So that was sort of what was happening here is that we were expanding everything out into the 6 pages versus the 4. This was also the opportunity Keith had gone through and marked up the script. So added notes, added specific things. We started really looking at light sources, all that kind of stuff, just to ensure we were telling the proper story in the way we wanted to and that the panels were doing the correct job. And we changed a lot of things. A lot of stuff that was in the original script ended up changing by the time we got to this point, and that's a good thing, right? It meant that we were working it
Yep.
hard, we were really thinking it through. We weren't just like, first idea, best idea. We were really playing with it to get to a point that we thought we were telling the best version of the story we could be.
Yeah. And so some of the technical parts of this, you see that I wrote down establishing shot, action shot, and close up shot. So basically, with each page, I always try to leave those 3 types of panels on there. It's not 100%. You don't have to do it with every page, but an establishing shot is giving you the information you need, where we are, when we are, all that kind of stuff. That on a page, the action is giving the reader something, some kind of really doesn't have to be a huge movement. It could just be somebody opening up a book of some sort, but we're seeing their full body. We're seeing like the cameras pulled away enough so that we can see most of what they're doing. And then a close-up shot is much more emotional, like when you're zooming into somebody and you can see their facial expressions. So you, as the reader, you're getting a sense of how the person what they're going through at that time. It could also be used as a way to show a detail, like a watch or something like that. And those shots can vary. You can have an establishing action type shot or an action close up where the person's doing something, punching, but we're seeing really only from their chest up. So you can have variations, but just generally you want to have those kinds of shots. So you're making sure you're giving information, you're giving some kind of excitement, you're showing emotional states, and then as you see there, I laid it out so you can actually see where the first page starts. And when you open up a comic book or a book, usually the first page you see is number one. And then when you turn the page, it's two and three. You turn the page four or five. So if there's any kind of scenario where you want to have like a double page spread or like one big image going across 2 pages, you want to make sure it's on those page breaks. And then finally, and Sarah can attest to this in a moment, at the end of each page, you want to give some kind of like a cliffhanger. It doesn't have to be a super
Mhm.
big one, but it could be something that you just want to have it so that it makes you want to turn the page.
Absolutely. Having those page turns are incredibly important, especially with this genre, right? Because we are going horror, psychological horror, suspense. You really don't want to have everything wrapped up nicely on each page. You always want to leave it with that moment of, well, I can't stop here, right? We want people to feel like they have to keep going to get to the end. And because it's a short story, that's obviously incredibly doable. And we really thought through all of those moments to ensure that we really kept that cadence of needing to turn the page.